und herzlich willkommen zurück zu Let's Play Corpse Party Book of Shadows. Ich weiß, die letzte Folge ist leider sehr, sehr lange her. Zum einen wegen The Walking Dead, zum anderen, weil ich krank war, es immer noch so ein bisschen bin. Also von daher, falls man mir das anmerken sollte, tut's mir leid. Ich würde sagen, wir starten das nächste Kapitel. Ich weiß, es sieht nicht ganz genau nach dem aus, was es eigentlich werden sollte. Es war jetzt so meine Eigeninterpretation quasi von der Lehrerin. Heißt, ihr wisst, um wen es sich in Encounter handeln wird. Und ich würde sagen, wir starten in das neue Kapitel. Aber,
Tenjin 5番地のこれ23だよな。それとも33か？まったく山崎先生の字は読みづらいな。
ist aber allen Lehrern so. Okay, this wasn't really my day. I knocked over my alarm clock this morning and of course it stopped working. The very last pork sandwich sold out right before my eyes during lunch. And I was roped into a favor when I happened upon my homeroom teacher, Mr. Yamazaki, long after the school day had ended. So now, like it or not, I was on my way to deliver some notes to Miss Yui, our homeroom TA? What was she TA? Homeroom teacher, who was out sick with a cold. Oh je.
今日は早く帰ってゆかの買い物に付き合ってやる予定だったし。天神5番地23の11、ここか。これが6番地33の77とかじゃなければ。
God. I stopped and compared the memo in my hand with the apartment building in front of me. It was 2 stories tall and looked a little on the shabby side. Looked a little bit shabby on the side, probably about 20 years old. It didn't seem very solid, nor it was particularly stylish or chic. It was a completely unremarkable structure in every way.
ここの207号室。
Oh je.
201?
I was really getting fed up with this handwriting. And from a teacher, no less. In any case, it seemed certain the apartment was on the 2nd floor, so I trudged up the startling, narrow, steep stairs. The metal staircase was, though roughly blotched with patches of rust. Why would someone live in such a run-down apartment building?
先生の給料ってもしかしてすごく安かったりするのかな?
Boah, ich glaube ja, muss ich ganz ehrlich sagen. Ich glaube, so viel kriegen Lehrer eigentlich gar nicht. Also sobald du so ein richtiger Dozent an der Uni oder so bist, glaube ich, verdienst du gut. Aber so als normaler Lehrer, ich weiß aber jetzt auch nicht, wie es in Japan ist. I felt a little sorry for her, but in a way, this place kind of fit her personality. With that thought in my mind, I turned my attention toward apartment 201. Ja, ich finde, sie wirkt auch irgendwie sehr, ist ja nichts Pompöses, eigentlich total einfach und so wirkt die auch irgendwie.
ここが201号室か。でもゆい先生の家じゃないな。
Ja, so, haben die keine Namensschilder drüben oder? The door plate for the door nearest the stairs had a name I didn't recognize scribbled on it.
ってことはこの奥か。
Passing room 201, I continued down the narrow walkway toward the end. Wandering alone around an apartment building I'd never been to before made me feel kind of nervous. It wasn't like I was doing anything wrong, but my back still tensed up as I maneuvered around piled up strollers, plastic toys and bundles of newspapers. And then finally I arrived at the last door.
ここだ。
This was it. I breathed a sigh of relief. The door plate for apartment 207 read, Shishido. For an adult's handwriting, especially, the letters were rounded and overly cute to see. This was Miss Yui's place, alright.
なんだろうこれ。
I leaned in to read something written in small script on the corner of the door plate. Was, Kid?
Eh?
Meow?
猛犬注意じゃなくて?
Beware of the cat.
ゆい先生らしいや。
So how exactly does one beware of a house cat? It is even possible for a house cat to be threatening. Oh mein Gott, ja, vor allem wenn sie total riesig ist. So wie der, keine Ahnung, Maine Coon oder so, wobei die eigentlich eher ruhig sein sollen. Aber ich kann mir sehr gut vorstellen, was heißt, ich kann es mir sehr gut vorstellen, aber Katzen können abgehen. Und wenn die richtig zubeißen, dann ab ins Krankenhaus, weil das ist echt übel. At any rate, I confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was Miss Yui's place, so my errand was nearing its end.
それにしても山崎先生もひどいよな。風邪ひいたクラスメートにプリント持っていくならわかるけど、風邪ひいた副担の先生のうちに授業のノートを届けろって。うん、絶対におかしい。間違いなくこれ担任の仕事だよ。
He'd said he was busy with meetings, though, and really needed one of his students to help him out. But was it really okay to entrust a school student with confidential class notes?
これ生徒が読んじゃまずいノートなんじゃないのか。
My mind kept drifting from one question to another, and I'd become acutely aware of the inherent value in these notes I held in my bag. But tempting as it was, I just couldn't bring myself to look at them. Miss Yamazaki put his faith in me after all. And I was stronger than that. I couldn't let this get the best of me. At any rate, I was here. I should have just been able to drop off the notes and be on my way. Putting all my doubts and misgivings aside, I rang the doorbell. And then I waited, and waited, and waited some more, but there was no answer.
俺呼び鈴をしたよな。ゆい先生!
Laut. I rang the bell again and also tried calling out, but there was still no response.
どうしよう。寝てんのかな。起こしちゃ悪いけど、でも心配だしな。
When we'd heard that Miss Yui was staying home sick today, we were all pretty disappointed. That's why part of me was actually a little happy that I was asked to run these over to her. I figured I'd be able to check in, see how she was doing, and let everyone at school know that she was feeling better.
けど会えないっていうのは想定外だったな。ゆい先生！ゆい先生！反応なしか。ゆい先生。すみません。
She was probably sleeping, or out the doctors or something, but what if she were heard? I tried opening the mail slot and peeking in. I thought maybe I could get a glimpse of the room inside.
ゆい先生。
It felt kind of wrong peeking into someone's house without their permission, but I was legitimately worried about Miss Yui's health, so my conscience was clear on this one. Meow! Meow! A well-groomed cat was facing the door and staring back at me. Oh God, war knuffig! With its head tilted slightly to the side, it let out an adorable meow. Meow! 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 This must be the cat I was instructed to beware. And since Miss Yui was always going on and on about her little buddy, I was pretty sure I remembered his name.
この子が噂のモレじゃなくて、確かモネ。
Ja, ja, er würde passen.
そうだ、
Monet.
モネちゃんだ。へえ、綺麗な猫だな。
Also würde passen, weil ja die Japaner so ein Faible für westliche Namen haben. Und Monet, ne, kennt ihr ja, Claude Monet, den Maler. Miss Yui talked about her cat a lot in class, so pretty much the whole school had heard of him. Das kommt mir irgendwie so bekannt vor. Meine Schülerin von mir, die meinte auch mal zu mir aus der Förderschule, dass ich ja voll katzenverrückt sei und weil ich ja auch voll viele Sachen so mit Katzen habe. Und she even had some tins of cat food hidden on, ja, genau, das kennen wir ja, on a shelf in the classroom, probably because she'd bought too much and had no room for them in her apartment.
Monet, Monet. 先生はいるか?
Mia, 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 mia.
先生がいるんだったら起こしてきてほしいんだ.
Klar.
モネ、頼むよ. Ja, やっぱり無理か.
Ja, natürlich nicht.
そりゃそうだよな.
Ich kann mir vorstellen, wenn man einen Hund darauf trainiert, könnte das noch funktionieren, aber damit keine Katze. My shoulders sank. I felt defeated. What the hell was I doing? I closed the mail slot and stood back up.
弱ったな。ゆい先生、どうしたんだろう。どっか外出中とか？空いてたりしないかな。
Lost in this speculation, I placed my hand on the doorknob. And with a quick twist, I turned it and pushed on the door, opening it easily. What the fuck?
鍵かかってないのか。
Das würde mir jetzt aber richtig Sorgen machen.
モネが出たら大変だ。
Oh ja.
お前のご主人様は不用心だな。鍵もかけてないなんて。
Monet's whiskers twitched as I called out to him from the entranceway.
なんだ？その通りだにゃって。モネもやっぱりそう思うか。
Here I was talking to a cat. Was this what I'd become?
どうしよう。
I was feeling pretty uneasy. Not only had I peeped into someone's house, I walked in without a second thought. Moreover, this was where Miss Yui lived, alone. In other words, a woman's apartment. No matter how many times I reminded myself that I was here on an errand, I couldn't help feeling that I'd not only crossed the line, but leaped over it.
Yui sensei.
I tried calling und so weiter, but as expected, there was no answer.
本当にどうしようかな。
I was trying hard to avoid being too noisy, but my eyes inevitably began surveying the room. The apartment entrance led out immediately into the kitchen, and beyond that, there was a sliding door to some other room. I could see light through the gaps. I strained my ears, but there was nothing to hear, no signs of life whatsoever. Miss Yui really must have been out. One more time. I try calling out to her one more time, just to put my concerns at ease. I felt like I'd seem even more suspicious if I stayed silent.
Yui sensei, 持田です。
Still nothing. Maybe she was asleep on the other side of the door.
確かめてみ。いや。
Shaking my head furiously, I cast out that sudden impulse. That was a terrible idea, pure and simple. Entering the apartment unannounced was bad enough, but walking all the way in, opening that sliding door, and peeking inside, that was just too much.
っていうか、このタイミングでユイ先生が外から帰ってきたりしたら、俺、じゃなくて。だいぶまずい。
Money mute, as if in agreement. Panicking, I once again surveyed my surroundings. I almost felt like there was eyes on me, staring with disdain. But of course nobody was there.
あ、そうだ。書き置きを残していけばいいんじゃないか？
Wondering why I didn't think of this sooner, I dug into my bag for some paper and a pen.
山崎先生から頼まれたのでって書いておけばいいんだよな。 俺のノートでいいや。
I'll just use... Achso, was hat er gesagt?
ゆい先生、
Crouching in the doorway, I ran my pen across the page. I bought class notes at Yamazaki's behest. Everyone has been worried about you. Sorry about barging into you. Oh Gott. Voll übertrieben. Das Einbrechen, ich meine, direkt hat das ja nicht gemacht. As I was writing the note, I sensed a presence in front of me. Until just a moment ago, this house had no signs of human life in it, but now I could feel someone feel directly ahead, standing and looking down at me. Fidgeting nervously, I put down my pen, raised my head slowly, and saw a white, slender ankle. Shocked, I shot my head up, and there, standing before me, was Miss Yui. Boah, voll die Brüste einfach nur.
Sensei.
Morgan! She was looking right at me, but she seemed decidedly out of sorts. Her hair looked disheveled, her gaze was unsteady, and her pajamas were in completely disarray. She was like a completely different person from the usual camp educator we'd come to know and love.
ゆい先生、俺勝手に入っちゃって。
Sehr gut. I stood up frantically and held out the note I'd been writing, but... Miss Yui was just standing there, stupefied, with a completely vacant expression on her face.
Sensei?
I called out to her as gently as I could. But... she was really dazed. Oh God, she seemed almost like a ghost.
先生、どうしちゃったんだよ。
Voll übertrieben. Ich war einfach nur voll verschlafen. I had a suddenly uneasy feeling. Worried, I walked up to Miss Yui, grabbed her shoulders and tried to snap her out of it by shaking her. But instead... this just seemed to make her cough. Oh God, was zur Hölle?
Sensei!
These were word productive coughs, and spit was shooting out of Miss Yui's mouth with each one. I frantically tried to shield my face from the spray, but my reaction time just wasn't quick enough. Ja, jetzt bist du krank. I put a hand to her cheek and found it thick with a slimy film of saliva. Nee, saliva. Voll der Zombie.
Yui Sensei.
Ich kann das gerade voll nicht ernst nehmen. Miss Yui hobbled back a little, then fell to her knees with a thud. She had completely sprawled out in the hallway, moaning and groaning the whole time.
Sensei?
Wiping the spatterings from my own face, I leaned over and took a better look at hers. Oh God. It was bright red. Strained breathing, a stuffy nose, and a visible high fever on top of it all. She was sick as could be. Ja, wenn du so rumläufst, dann musst du dich da auch nicht wundern.
寒いの？でも 汗かいてるよ。
寒い。
I thought maybe his sweat had cooled her down, but then realized her disheveled pajamas certainly weren't doing her any favors. With heart pounding a mile a minute and face red as a traffic light, I set about buttoning her up.
ゆい先生、俺のことわかる？持田だよ。寒いならちゃんと布団で寝ないと。出ないと治るもんも治らないって。
Die ist einfach mal total weg. She absent-mindedly extended her shaking arms like a zombie, slowly reopened her eyes and looked at me. It was the gaze of a severely fevered mind.
ゆい先生、
司くん。
え？What
the hell?
司くん。
え
？Miss Yui was clinging to me tightly. I couldn't move. I was frozen in shock. She began to weep. Oh Gott, ist es ihr Freund oder so? Wahrscheinlich ihr Ex-Freund. Ja, von dem sie Ayumi, glaube ich, erzählt hatte. Oh Gott. It seemed like I wasn't getting through her at all, and the sensation of her chest as she held me was making it virtually impossible to fight her grip. I was utterly powerless against this opponent. Egal. Oh God. I never realized before just how soft a woman's chest really was. God, am I that weak-willed? I had to remind myself that Miss Yui had me confused with someone else. Mustering all the strength I could, I gripped her arms and tried to pry them off me. But she was a lot stronger than I'd anticipated and wouldn't let me get away. Oh, yo. As she squeezed me tightly, I felt as though my upper body might collapse under the pressure of her softest parts. I was blushing uncontrollably. I struggled to wriggle free, but Miss Yui only grabbed me tighter. Our bodies were getting more and more intertwined. And every time I squirmed, Miss Yui would just pull me even closer. As her chest rose and fell erratically, droplets of sweat slid down into her cleavage. I could feel the heat of her fever radiating off her steadily encroaching face, as well as the shoulders I grabbed in an effort to push away. Questions were swirling around in my head. Why was Miss Yui crying? And who was this Tsukasa person? But I was most concerned for the state of her pajamas, which had become even more disheveled during our struggle. Realizing that not a single word was getting through to her, I sighed, had resigniert. I'd taken care of Yuka any number of times when she'd caught a cold and drawn a fever, but I don't recall it ever getting this bad. Miss Yui was usually calm, collected, and rational, Who would have ever imagined that a fever could leave her so thoroughly discombobulated?
ゆい先生、ちょっと、もう
Und ob sie das hinbekommt, beziehungsweise was überhaupt eigentlich noch so mit Miss Yui los ist, denn das werden wir jetzt hier erfahren. Ich bin mir jetzt nicht ganz sicher, ob es sich jetzt hier tatsächlich nur um die ganze Vorgeschichte sich jetzt hier nun handelt. Ich meine gelesen zu haben auf der Wikipedia, dass wir jetzt einfach mal so alles erfahren, wer Miss Yui eigentlich ist. Ich glaube, hier geht es erstmal gar nicht um den Fluch etc. Aber sicher bin ich mir nicht. Da schauen wir mal. Ja, aber mehr zu Miss Yui in der nächsten Folge. Ich freue mich auch schon sehr drauf. Also ich fand es echt schade, dass wir halt eben kaum was von ihr erfahren haben. Jetzt werden wir es. Und wie gesagt, ich meine, ich habe nicht die Haare und ich hatte auch keine Klamotten, die irgendwie gepasst hatten, um irgendwie da, wie soll ich sagen, ein passendes Cosplay zu machen, weshalb ich einfach mal irgendwas gemacht habe, was irgendwie lehrermäßig ist. Weshalb das vielleicht diesmal nicht so gut passt, wie beispielsweise bei Miku, war es Miku? Ja, bei der letzten. Da fand ich, hat sie eigentlich ganz gut hingehauen. Aber gut, wie gesagt, das war's für heute. Bis zum nächsten Mal.